Students, a very good morning to all of you and welcome to the class once again. This is Dr. Sanjana Sharma. As you know, we are doing poems by Nissim Ezekiel and we have finished more than half of the poem background casually. To make the comprehension of this poem easier, I divided this poem in 3 parts. We have finished 2 parts. So the 2 parts that we have finished, the first part out of them dealt with the boyhood memories of Ezekiel. So this section, it consisted of 5 stanzas, and Ezekiel recalls his childhood days that are filled with the sense of fright and failure. As a child, he was frightened and he also felt restless. And we have also gone through the reasons behind this fear, as he studied in a Roman Catholic school and he was a minority among the Hindu and Christian boys. And he was not like other normal kids. He was poor at games, he couldn't fly a kite, as we have read. As he was a Jew, he had to face numerous difficulties. And Christians told him that he was a killer of Christ. And he also remembered how a Muslim boy would box his ears. And he too expresses his dislike for the undernourished Hindu boys whose passivity repelled him and whose prepositions were always wrong. And he recalls how his parents always wanted to make him a Jewish priest. Though he attended prayers, he realized his morals had declined and so he was unfit to be a priest. The second section of the poem deals with his stay in the city of London. He narrates how he found life hard in London and lived a cheerless life over there. A woman came to his life, but this affair ended in a failure. And as I have already told you while introducing Nissim Ezekiel's life to you, that he had to go through various hardships during his stay in London. He washed plates in hotels, but such problems couldn't kill his enthusiasm with which he had left India to make himself intellectually rich while attending the various programs, the clubs in London. After some time, Ezekiel recalls that he decides to come back India. And as he had no money, he had to work as a sailor, scrubbing decks and carrying coal on an English ship taking ammunition to Indochina. He remembers while back in India, he had to face the problem of adjustment, how to feel at home. That was the point that most perturbed him. He remembers his ancestors when this second section comes to an end. Now let us go to the last section of the poem. So here he remembers his ancestor who says He told my father sad stories of the Boer War. I determined that fierce men had burned my feet and hands. So, in the third section, we see that it carries the memories of his ancestors, and he delineates how one of his ancestors, who was a major in British Army, used to narrate tragic war stories of Boer War to his father. Such memories, they were horrific for Ezekiel, and he says, I dreamt that fierce men had bound my feet and hands. The later dreams were all of words. I did not know that words betray, but let the poems come and lost that grip on things the worldly prize. I would not suffer that again. Ezekiel says that he would dream of wild, strong men who had bound his hand and feet. Then he had dreams of words. I would not suffer that again. I look about me now and try to formulate a plainer view. The wise survive and serve to play the fool, to cash in on the inner and the outer storms. The Indian landscape sears my eye. So, Ezekiel says that sometimes he would dream only of words, but at that time he did not know that words, right words, often betray poets. So Ezekiel makes a sort of confession. The poet says that his earlier poetry is deficient in use of appropriate words and reality. He recalls his previous resolves that he would not suffer that again. That is, he would wait for appropriate words and have a tight hold on reality. So, coming to present, he says, I would not suffer that pain again. I look about me now and try to formulate a plainer view. The wide survive and serve, to play the fool, to cash in on the inner and the outer storms. The Indian landscape sears my eyes. I have become a part of it, to be observed by foreigners. They say that I am singular. Their letters overstate the case. I have made my commitments now. This is one, to stay where I am, as others choose to give themselves in some remote and backward place. My backward place is where I am. Coming to present, Ezekiel says that now he tries to have a simple and plain view of life. He makes the best use of his inner passions, longings, and turmoils, as also of the eternal external difficulties and problems life has in store for him. Such inner and outer experiences from the themes of his form the themes of his poetry. So in the last two stanzas, the poet makes his commitments very clear to his readers. Students, as we have read, that he says, I have become a part of it, to be observed by foreigners. They say that I am singular. Their letters overstate that case. I have made my commitment now. This is one, to stay where I am. He says that whatever be the limitations in the milieu he belongs to, he stands committed to it. He is committed to India and to the city where he lives. And In the last lines, he says, to stay where I am, as others choose to give themselves in some remote and backward place. My backward place is where I am. The foreign friends wonder at his plight. He knows that they only exaggerate the difficulties. There is no doubt that the poet makes his commitment to the immediate landscape and country of his choice. But the last line somewhat show that he suffers from a feeling of rootlessness and helplessness. And as we have gone through the whole poem, it shows Ezekiel's attitude throughout his poetry, shows his lack of roots in cultural and mythological past of the country he commits himself to. So students, here we finish the analysis of the poem Background Casually by Nissim Ezekiel, and it's a very beautiful poem, and it has got an autobiographical tone. Ezekiel makes us visualize his life journey that starts in the first section of the poem as a boy studying in a Roman Catholic school, and as a youth who struggles very hard in London to imbibe himself with the riches that are there in England. Riches means he wants to make himself intellectually rich by mixing with the people in England, by mixing with the writers, authors, poets over there in England. When he comes back to India, the question is still there how he would relate himself, how he will adjust himself in India, because his identity as a Jew has always caused him some troubles. But by the end of the poem, he confesses this fact that although I did have some deficiencies in my writings, I will adhere to my writing, to the career as a writer. I will continue writing and I will search for more pertinent, proper words. And in the last lines of the poem, he clearly expresses his love towards the nation, towards India, where he was born. And he says, I will remain in this country to which I love. So, students, this much for today. Thank you very much.